What do CEOs need to know about sales these days? A lot. Outdated sales strategies and tactics plague most companies today. Listen to what innovative CEOs and experts have to say about how to change all that with Sales Talk for CEOs. Welcome to Sales Talk for CEOs. I'm so excited about our guest today, but first I have to tell you something else I'm excited about. Well, I'm back from sabbatical. We're going to talk some more about that another day, but my YouTube channel is just starting to blow up and I'm so excited about it. I want to ask all of you to please go follow me on YouTube. And I would really appreciate if you would subscribe. So sorry, little plug, but it's just so exciting just seeing those numbers go up and you can really help me with that. So today I have a guest who's going to talk with us about some of the things in marketing that I think CEOs might be missing. Things have changed a lot, as we all know, we're aware of that. And sales and marketing have blended so much. Your salespeople have to be marketers today. So as the CEO, you have to understand what it means to you personally, what you can do in the marketing realm to attract people to your business, and what your sellers should be doing. So I'm really excited to have Gillian Utesch with me today. Hi, Gillian.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here with y'all.
And I got to tell you, this is some story. Just as an entrepreneur, you'll love this, right? So she's the CEO of her company, and we'll talk about that in a second. But she used to be a pharmacist. Now, look, okay, I mean, I could see if you went from being a pharmacist into some like high-tech medical thing or something like that makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. But then when you're a pharmacist, and that's not just like 4 years of school, like that's college plus 2 more years, not quite as much as a doctor, but it's a lot. And then you go from being a pharmacist to, in your story, you told me, well, I just kind of became a couch potato after I decided I want to be a pharmacist. And then you thought, well, what does an ex-pharmacist do if they want to start a business? They go into marketing. Well, that's just obvious, right? So anyway, I'm sure that everyone would love to know how you went from pharmacy to marketing, and we will get into that a little bit. But tell us about your business now today and what you offer, and then we'll jump into the rest of it.
Absolutely. So my business is Broken Glass Ceiling Marketing. I chose the name for all the reasons you probably think I did, because I wanted to also set the message with my daughter that she can do anything. She can go from being a pharmacist to marketing to having her own business, take times 2. So that name really resonated with me. And I was originally going to just do traditional marketing as I had done for the 20 years prior. But what was different this time from before was my client base. With COVID, everyone kind of scattered and got different jobs, different positions. And I found myself without my standard Rolodex. And I thought, oh gosh, I'm going to have to actually do business development. I don't want to do that.
You're going to have to actually sell something?
I know. I was like, I don't want to do it. And so I was kind of panicked. And I thought, oh, well, let me just make a business that does everything I don't want to do. And here we find ourselves.
Oh my gosh. And I mean, I think you had said to me, well, it just came from me not wanting to do something. And I wanted I wanted somebody else or AI or something to do everything that I did not want to do, which I just love, because that is innovation. Like, how do I not do this? It moves us towards interesting things. And I just love that. Well, oh my gosh. So yeah, you have a very cool platform now that people can use, so they don't have to do the things they don't want to do either in relation to marketing and social media and some other things as well. And we will definitely post that up at the end so people can take a deeper look at that. But all right, I'm curious, really, in your schooling as a pharmacist, did any of that come through to help you when you decided to be a marketing professional, to start a company around marketing?
Not really. The only thing I can say that kind of did translate over was just the critical thinking. There's been so much problem solving I've had to do, so much working around, so much, okay, if this, then that, let's try this. And we did a lot of that in pharmacy school. If this drug didn't work, okay, let's try this one, because your bodies can translate them differently. And so just keeping at it until you had a solution.
Yeah. Wow. And I think, of course, all CEOs need to do that, right? We all have this constant problem solving. And if this happens, then that, and
Mhm.
what next? And I think the more time we can take to actually do that kind of thinking, the faster our companies can grow.
Mhm.
It's when we get like stuck in the day to day, just doing the stuff, right? That we can stagnate. So I love it.
Mhm.
I love it. All right. So let's jump into what CEOs need to know about marketing today. And I thought it was kind of interesting. I have your notes here. You put, don't put this baby in a corner, right? And I think we're all a little bit in the corner today. So, but let's talk about why we feel like we're in a corner. Things have changed, and maybe they've changed even more than we know, right? But sales and marketing are so blended, and CEOs can be their own marketers, right? And they can draw people to their company to, they can build their brand in a way that they never could before. And that's super important for lead generation. But salespeople have to be marketers too. And
Mhm.
so let's start with, all right, workspaces and styles have changed. And how is that impacting marketing today?
It's all over the place. Whereas before we had kind of predetermined time zones. We knew this client was in this time zone or they worked from this office location, but that's not true anymore. After COVID, when everyone just kind of went to their separate corners, one of my girlfriends still lives in Barbados and works. So she keeps an East Coast time. And so it's just, you don't know where people are geographically or where they are in their journey. Because I think most people did change. My business changed a lot through COVID because the business model changed, and so you come back from that as a different version of yourself. Not quite as much as a pharmacist to marketing, but definitely a different version. So understanding where your ideal client is, that way you can target your information in that direction, and
Right.
it
So like
probably
maybe
isn't
we
where they
were
were.
with all of our thinking, all the people who are our target audience are in North America and they're, within a 3-hour time zone difference. Now you're saying it's global
Hmm.
and the time zones are all over the place. So let's say you were sending an email newsletter out or you were posting on social media
Hmm.
for that 3-hour time difference. And now it's round the clock. Right. And so people are looking for you and your content on their time zone,
Yeah.
not on yours. And even though it was always that way, maybe your spread wasn't as much. It might have been
Hmm.
3 hours, like I said, instead of 12 hours or more.
Hmm. Yeah, it was kind of simple and basic before. We had our algorithms. We knew that we wanted to send an email on Thursday at 3 p.m. Great, send it out. Now there's 4, 5, 6 Thursdays at 3 p.m.
Yeah.
So
Right.
you have to kind of,
Right.
and then that's like, oh wow, how do I multiply myself like that? And
Right.
that's
So
where I kind of found AI.
if you're a CEO and you're thinking, okay, so what's different? Well, go talk to your marketing people. Hey, like what time of day are you sending our newsletter out?
Yep.
And could you segment that for, different parts of the world? Like the problem is on your list, you have humans, their names and maybe even their title. But what we don't always know is what time zone they're in. And so it might even be interesting with your newsletter to do a little surveying
Mhm.
of your customers. Hey, what time zone are you in? We want to send things to you at a time when you want them sent. So we'd love to know what time zone you're in. That
Mhm.
might not be something your marketing leader thought about. So it's as the CEO inquiring, like, how can we improve our marketing? Our time zone, something that we are now going
Mhm.
to have to take into consideration. Of course, the answer is yes, indeed. But how will you know? Well, it's a great way to reach out to customers and prospects and survey them and get to know them better, right? And you can even make some fun with it to gather that information, right? So I think that's really cool. And the same goes with posting on social media,
Mhm.
starting to maybe post it sometimes that you weren't, to see if you get more engagement later in the day, earlier in the day. Since you can schedule your posts, you could post
Mhm.
them in the middle of your night and see if you get engagement from those around the world.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so I think some of your tools actually make that possible, right?
It is, because that was something I didn't want to do. Even when there was just one Thursday at 3 p.m. to post something, I didn't want to have to, oh, let me log in and do this. I wanted to I actually made a list of all the things I did in a day and a week that I didn't want to do. And I made that my mission to build a tool that would do them for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, anything else about the changes that maybe we haven't noticed besides time zone and, the obvious ones?
There's a lot of communication noise. So you're trying to reach people all over the world. The only way you can do that is digitally. Well, you're not the only one trying to reach them. Everyone's trying to reach them. It's not like you have an office where you can just drop off a fruit basket to build relationships or talk with someone. All you have is digital tools. So that just creates a lot of noise, and it's hard to stand out in that space. I remember like in 1998, we were all so excited. Oh, I've got an email. I've got an email. Now we're like, oh God, like I don't, get this email away from me. So your
Right. Nobody
content,
wants one more email in their
mm-mm,
box, honestly. And people have doubled down on email in a bad way so that there are, I mean, every seller in the world, right, is sending emails. So when you think about that as a channel, yes, it's true. People still do respond to emails, but they have to be very high quality and they have to be very customized to what that person might be needing
yeah.
at that moment in time, right? And if you think about that as a channel, wow, I mean, we have to use it so differently. And yeah, don't double down on email right now. Not a good strategy.
And because folks have kind of developed their own personal spaces, we've become better versions of ourselves. Like I'm very particular about things now that I wasn't before because I've been able to build my own space. So I now want to be addressed in a more
Yeah.
personalized way because that's how I'm addressing myself versus just, oh, here's Jillian. She's 29 years old and lives in North Carolina. I want to be addressed to, oh, I have a teal office and I enjoy doing activities in the morning. And so when we're trying to customize content and email it to our, oh, sorry, uh, the auto lights.
That's okay. You're good.
Um, and so when we're trying to generate content to be individual to each person that we're going after, that takes a lot of time. And I found that when I got to a task that I knew was going to take a lot of time, I would procrastinate, and then oftentimes never do it. But I knew I needed to. So that's where kind of one part of the tool came in.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, trying to communicate through all this noise, you do need some tools to help you. There's no doubt about it. And there's many, many tools out there that can do it. But take a look as a CEO, what tools is marketing using? What tools, are your sales team using? And are these the most efficient? Even your customer success, right?
Mhm.
Throughout the whole go to market team, are the tools supporting the way the world has changed? Is it allowing them to do the things that they need to do? Break through the noise, right?
Mhm.
So is it allowing them to highly customize their emails? And again, when I say customize the emails, I'm not like, oh, hey, I see you went to IU, like, no, customize to me, my problems, my pain in my industry
Mhm.
that you can fix, right? So I see that
Absolutely.
that I'm a CEO, that I work in this industry, that I might have these problems similar to other CEOs like me. Show me you know me, as our good friend Samantha McKenna always says, right? Show me you know me. And so
Absolutely.
if we're not using tools to help, to help our salespeople and our marketers do that, shame on us. CEOs, people need these tools, and they're AI tools, which, are out there now. Don't be afraid of them. Lean into them. Put some guide rails around it and train people to use these tools really well, because breaking through the noise is harder than ever. And without these AI tools, your salespeople will be very inefficient. Your marketers will be very inefficient trying to compete in today's market.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So a lot of communication noise. Put that together with the fact that, our workspaces have changed, the way we live our lives has changed, where we live, time zones, all the things that, combine trying to get a message out to someone, which is what marketing is about. Let's talk about, okay, so what do we do to repair some of that with
Mhm.
authentic digital engagement? Because that's something I talked with, my good friend Erin about. She is all about authenticity. And she says, authenticity doesn't mean bringing your shitty self to work today, right? Authenticity is about other people and how you show up to them and how you're
True.
helping them. And so I think we're not realizing how important this digital footprint of ourselves is. So let's talk about that a little bit.
So, because digital tools are what we have to connect with each other all over the place, we need it to, as humans, we're still craving that connection. We're still craving that, I'm going to go have a coffee with a client. That feels different than, I'm going to go email a client the same thing I was going to tell her when we had coffee. So, we're trying to duplicate that in a digital world, which is hard enough, but then we get into the scaling. So, if you have 5 clients, okay, that's easy. You can, develop rapport with them. You can connect with them. You can respond to all their posts. You can really, share articles. But when you have 500 clients, you can't do that. And you want to in your heart. The motivation's genuine, but your 10 little fingers just can't do it. And so that's where I found myself. I didn't feel that I was engaging with my clients to the way I wanted to, because I just didn't have the bandwidth to do it. Personal bandwidth.
Yeah. Well, and CEOs don't, right? I mean, we just don't. We have so many things to do. It's like, I've been meaning to get this post up on LinkedIn for 3 days now, and it's still not there, right? I mean, we have great intentions, but we have much more important things to do in the sense of, looking at revenue generation, operations, things like that. But when we neglect this digital imprint, or really, our imprint period on our employees, on our customers, on anybody who might be watching us on social media, when we ignore that, I mean, that can be a problem, right? And by putting out a good imprint in all those places, we can really generate more revenue and more goodwill, right? So if it's employees, it's more goodwill. We want them to follow us, understand our vision, stay with us, all those good things. If it's our customers, very similarly, we want to show them that we care about them and that we're listening and that we're there for them. And then at large on social media or wherever else we put ourselves out there, right? That's really important for our brand as well. And we don't have time. So I think that thinking about how do you do this, right? Especially maybe in print, with public relations, maybe, with email, with social media. We want our teams to focus on the things that are most important and revenue generating. And we want to be able to focus on the things that are most important. So I want to talk a little bit about how you invented around that, because I think this part is really cool, right? Talk about innovation at its finest. You're, being a couch potato, thinking about what you want to do. And you're like, well, here's what I don't want to do. And I want the machine to do it for me. So you innovated. These are all the things you innovated are things that no CEO wants to do. Right? And then they don't really want their employees spending a lot of time on those things either. So talk about how you thought, well, I don't want to have to do this. So I invented this piece. And tell us how that went.
If you had told me 5 years ago that I would be using AI tools, not to mention building them, not to mention launching them in companies and helping them grow I would have thought you were crazy, because I honestly thought AI was like the fidget spinner. It'll be in and out of here in a hot minute. I took no time to learn it until my back was against the wall. I truly had no other option.
That baby was in the corner again,
yes,
right?
Yes. It was very important to me to keep my brand, as all brands are, but I wanted my brand to stay true to what my clients knew it to be, but I couldn't do that in scale. So I had to just look in the mirror and be honest with myself and say, okay, if I can't move forward the way I want to move forward, I need to either not move forward at all or find a way to do it the way I want to do it. And so that's when we started developing avatars. It started out honestly as a joke. Like, think about it as an adult. If you could just make a list of everything you didn't want to do and then poof, have it go away. No one thinks
clone yourself and have the clone do that stuff, right?
No one thinks that's possible. Like, you would say, okay, that's a genie in a wish thing. And we just went through, and I got the one off the list, and then I got the second off the list, and I said, oh my God, okay, what else can we solve with AI? And it just kept going. And as we have developed and iterated, and as our clients have responded back and said, like on our LinkedIn tool, right now, it didn't color code email when you receive your messages. And a lot of our clients were like, hey, I want to color code it so I know what topics, kind of like in your Outlook. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's a brilliant idea. Let's add color coding into. So we've been able to develop the tools even more as folks have added in what they want them to do or what they don't want to do in their day, and have the tool do for them.
So let's be specific. What are some of the things you took off your plate? You don't have to do them anymore. What are some of those things that you took off your plate and AI is now successfully doing those for you? Not just doing them, successfully doing them.
I started the beginning of the sales process. And I think this is where it touches any business, no matter if you are an independent seller at a large group or you are the CEO. You have to get new business. And so, how do you get that new business? You either just magically know people, or you have to data mine. You have to find the information and go after them and actually call them, which is nerve wracking for a lot of people, to say nothing of the time. Then we need to do an email campaign and a text message campaign because we don't know where they are in the world. We don't know what tools. Are they laying in a hammock with an iPad? So a text message is better for them? Or do they have 17 monitors in their office in New York and an email is better for them? So getting all of these various types and platforms of content was difficult. So we got our tool to do that with our contact list. Then it became
Wait. So your tool will actually do email, text, social media, calls.
Yeah. And
Wow.
it finds the contacts. And to me, that was the hardest part because I didn't know, I knew the type of client I wanted to work with, but I didn't know Sally at Sally's business contact information, any of that. My Rolodex was completely empty. And so that is, as a business owner, is terrifying. When you have no client, you know the content you want to share is great. You know you want to help people, but you don't even know who to go after. So that was the first step in figuring out who are we reaching out to? And so we made a persona of the ideal client, the business size, employee size, the industry, the niche, that kind of thing. And so once we had that, then we were able to get the data, generate the outbound communication. It was at that point, there was another pivot in the plan, because originally this was just supposed to be for me, for my business. But we realized, oh gosh, this could help other people. So I shared it with some friends, and then I realized, oh, who's going to write the content? I know how to write content for my brand because I know my brand voice. I know how I want to go to market, but that doesn't fit every business. So for me to try to rewire my brain to write content for them, I was like, oh, this can't become my business. This can't be, it came on the list of things I don't want to do. I don't want to have to write content for companies that aren't mine. So we started developing. That's when all the little open AI started coming out, and we started playing with it, and I hated it because it didn't sound like me. It didn't sound like anybody. I couldn't dial it in the way I wanted it to do. Like, I would never say the word tapestry. Just don't like the word. Got no issue with tapestries. I just would never use it in speaking. And so I was spending so much time editing these open AI outputs to remove words like that and change things around. I may as well have just done it myself. So we just kind of started playing with it and said, hey, what can we do? How can we make this so specific for a client that we can just say, we want a LinkedIn article in this client's brand voice, boom. Because the content format for LinkedIn is very different than the content format for Facebook or for an email. So now, not only are you writing content, you're having to rewrite the same content in different ways for these different platforms. Mind numbing, right? That is not what I wanted to do. That's not what my clients want to do. But we know that that's what's needed. We need to have the content in different forms. So the avatar writes the content, and then I thought I was done. Because everything on my list was taken care of. Well, then LinkedIn became a very integral part because people are all over the world working from hammocks, working from their office. And so LinkedIn did kind of become our virtual water cooler. And that is where I really like to take the time to interact with people. It's fine if you've got 5 people at the water cooler, but if you've got 500 at the water cooler, how do you engage and have authentic relationships with folks when you just can't even get through them?
Well,
So
and it's
then,
so important because I keep trying to explain to, all of the CEOs out there, if your team is just posting, it's like a billboard. People drive on by. Without engagement, social media is nothing, right? So it's really about engagement, and the posts you make should be engaging enough that people start having a conversation with you in the chat, right? And the messages down below, people are talking with you, you're talking with them, and then some of them direct message you. Without that, it's really a waste of your time to just post on LinkedIn, because it's not getting you where you want to be. But who has time? Like, I mean, I could be on LinkedIn all day long, engaging with people, commenting on their posts, liking
Mhm.
them. I mean, I have conversations, so many conversations going on in LinkedIn every day that I can barely get to. And they're important conversations in
Mhm.
my DMs and
Yep.
also in the comments section. So that is something that, yeah, we just cannot spend that much time doing, but it makes such a difference when we do, because it
Oh,
brings us business.
absolutely. And so to your point about posting, that was an easy automation. You put on a calendar, you post. But going back to the psychology of sales, people want to talk about themselves. People want to be seen. People want to say, "Oh, I got 7 likes on the
Exactly.
article that I spent 30 minutes writing." So that was where the real value of the platform was for us. But to your point, gosh, that's a lot of work. So we already had the avatars built. They already knew how to communicate in the brand voice. They'd kind of been wired in their brain, for lack of a better way. So how could we get those avatars to actually comment? And, or actually endorse someone for skills, actually send them a message. And so we worked on that and we're able to achieve that. And I thought I was done. I said, okay, we can have our little avatars roam around LinkedIn, find new friends, like their skills, send them a message, comment on their posts. Everybody's happy. We're all just kumbaya. But we got so the problem I'm about to tell you about is a problem that you're like, okay, I wish I could have, that problem. We got so much response from our avatar that we couldn't even as a human respond to the messages that
Well,
were
and I'm
coming
going to
in
pause you
every.
right there for a second, because a lot of people are using automation on AI. And I know, I'm sorry, they're using AI and automation on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn probably doesn't like that very much. Sorry, LinkedIn, but that's the world of AI today. And that's the way it's going to be. But they're not using it smartly, right? The messaging is terrible. And so I can tell that, they've sent the same message to everyone. It's this long thing. It's all about them. It's nothing
Mhm.
about me, but they've sent it automated message, right? They have a tool that's going to look at my profile, and then they like something, and then they send me this really bad sales message that I just delete immediately, and I won't connect with them, of course, right? So people are doing this so poorly. But the thing that I love about what you're doing, because I got a message from you, that's how we met. We met on
Mhm.
LinkedIn, and we became fast friends after, we chatted back and forth, and then we had a live conversation. But your message, I thought it was directly to me. Then when I reread it after we met, and I was like, oh gosh, I see how you could have sent this to many, many, many people, right? So amazing. But that is the proof that, these spammy messages and just using AI is not the answer. This is why I keep saying AI is not replacing humans. It's making us more efficient, more able to be human and do those communications. But you can't just leave these AIs on their own to do their thing, because they do stupid stuff. Humans have to, be involved.
I kind of use the example that AI is just the instrument. We as humans are still the composer. We still need to figure out what we want them to do, how we want them to do it. Essentially, it's like the best dog. If you tell the dog sit, stay, it's going to sit, stay. But then you can't say sit, stay and expect it to jump on the couch because you said sit, stay. So as long as we are very clear and purposeful with how we design and drive them with their actions, it doesn't feel weird and scammy, and they can have genuine interactions with people because of the background coding that we put in. And you brought up LinkedIn, and not to get techie, but we do have because LinkedIn doesn't like you to have too much activity like a bot. They want it to be authentic. They want it to stay a very organic place. So we worked with LinkedIn and we have an agreement with them. So we're able to do the activity at the volume that we need to do it without sending off LinkedIn jail, red lights everywhere.
Yes, and I have been in LinkedIn jail, by the way, but I was doing it as a human, not a bot, and I still got in LinkedIn jail. But I don't know, it was crazy. But yeah, we do have to be careful. You do have to know that there is such a thing as LinkedIn jail.
Mm-hmm. So we got that sorted. And then, so the messages, so the avatars out there looking for your ideal client persona that we've kind of put in its very streamlined instructions. And so those messages come in from humans because they're like, when you responded to my message. And so now a human has to respond to that message. But when you've got 200 of them coming in, now how do you respond? So we developed the tool to scan the incoming message and then craft a response using the same technology that we built your avatar with to send them the original message. And then those kind of pause in your box so that you can review those and make sure that it makes sense, that it's, the goal was to have them so on point that there wasn't a lot of editing needed, but also I wanted to put that pause in it because sometimes it does say things in an awkward way that just as humans we wouldn't say. So I do like to look over it, but I'm looking over 200 messages, 2 seconds a piece, and I send them versus having to read all the incoming messages. And even like old school, what I did, I had a Word document and I would cut and paste because I knew I did so many of the same replies, I would cut and paste. So I did like having that, but it was one more step that I didn't think I would ever have to do. I never thought I'd have to integrate AI to help me respond to incoming client requests. It just never dream come true, really.
Yeah, absolutely. We all wish we had that problem, right? So, absolutely. Gosh, yeah, it's just amazing. Sometimes I think, this may sound crazy, but in your laziness, right? You innovated so that you could do the things that you love to do,
Mm-hmm.
which is so important. Like I'm in strategic coach, Dan Sullivan has been a CEO coach for a long, long time. And I'm in this group and, we see, CEOs have all these things they have to do and they don't spend enough time working in their unique abilities, right? The things
Mm-hmm.
that they do very best. In fact, they spend a lot of them 10% or less of their time doing the things that they do best. Imagine that. How horrible is that? First of all, it doesn't feel good. But secondly, it's not really propelling your company
Mm-hmm.
forward. But when you can get the machine to do some of the
Mm-hmm.
stuff, right? Or other humans, then as the CEO, you get to move more and more into doing the things that you love, that you do well, that only you can do, that really
Yep.
make a difference for your business. And so I just love that you innovated yourself right into that position. A little bit out of laziness. It's like, I just don't want to do that. I don't want to do
Absolutely.
that either. And I don't want to do that. And I don't like doing it. I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it. So I think that's just awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
I mean,
Well,
it's like the opposite. Most people build a business around something they love doing. They love being a gardener, or they love being a chef. Like they build a business around. I built a business around things I didn't want to do. So it's the complete opposite of what normal
yeah.
people do.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I just love that. So, all right. From pharmacist to marketer to AI expert. That's really where we ended up. That's where we landed. And it's so important today because, everybody keeps asking me, is AI going to replace salespeople? Like, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball.
Mm-mm.
I don't think AI will replace salespeople in my lifetime. Maybe after that it will, but it's going to be a long time. But I do know this: salespeople who use AI will replace those who don't. And I think that's almost true for every employee anymore, right? For customer success, for
Mhm.
CEOs, right? Because we've got to become more efficient at the mundane stuff that needs to be done. And it's even some of this mundane things are very important, but
Mhm.
the machine can do them. The AI can do them so that we are then freed up to have those, much more personal interactions with our own employees, our customers, our prospects, and more time for ourselves and our
Mhm.
world with our families too. So I think AI is going to really, I know a lot of people are afraid of it, but I think it's really going to help us in many ways if we embrace it and learn to use it
Mhm.
and train others to use it and use it
Mhm.
in a way that is really good for us and for our world, right?
I'm glad you bring in the personal component because I've all I like most CEOs, I've always operated at 110%. And I like that. I thrive in that environment. But I also have to remember I am human, and you can't do that every single day, year after year, like how you do your sabbatical. When I heard that, I was like, oh, goals, like that's what I want to do, And so I didn't realize the mental and physical toll,
Yeah.
just the volume. I can do anything, but I can't do everything. And it was very hard for me to accept that because I wanted to do everything. But once I took back off my plate the things I didn't like doing, my brain had more space to think, and I have been so much more creative and have been able to take my company to places I never could have, because I would have been just so exhausted and bogged down. And so I was really glad to make that unexpected revelation. I didn't think there was more in my tank. You wouldn't think there's more in your tank by taking things off, but it really did, it had a great benefit.
Yeah, when it let you go from one to, hundreds of customers, and it let you do that without having a lot of employees,
Mhm.
which today is hard because there aren't enough people
Yeah.
to do the jobs that we need them to do. So, I think that's just amazing that you were able to scale in that way and have it be super successful. And I mean, I'm just really looking forward to watching you continue to grow.
Thank
Oh my
you.
gosh, I could talk to you all day about this stuff. And we talked to you yesterday, and we had, so much to talk about. We went over like a half an hour from our appointment. But anyway, let's wrap up now. And I have a couple of questions that I want to ask you. I like to ask all of my guests. So it's a rapid fire, quick, answer. But what is a book that you think every CEO should read?
Anything Brene Brown, which I realize is not a business book, it's not sales, but so much of sales is psychology. And once you kind of get that concept, you're just going to be on fire. So anything by her.
We're selling to humans, so we need to understand how they buy, right? And Brene
Hmm.
Brown certainly helps us do that. Okay, next question. What is a podcast you love because it makes you think differently?
Right now, I am obsessed with one of my friends, Amy Porterfield, because
Oh,
she is so, I don't know if everyone has this. I self doubt a lot. I have
yeah.
imposter syndrome a lot. And she is very good at helping you understand, no, girl, you got this. And here's how you can share it with the world, because you have an obligation to share things with the world, because there are people who need to hear that content. And so I've really enjoyed her, just how she processes things and then delivers them to her audience.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, last one. Here we go. What does every CEO need to win in this marketplace? And I think we actually covered quite a few things related to marketing anyway. But what is this something that you really feel like, gosh, every CEO needs to know this in order to win in this marketplace?
Who their ideal client is, which I realize sounds simple, but as I have interviewed and worked with so many clients, onboarding them onto my platform, I've had to help them identify their
Yeah.
ideal client so that we knew whose contact information we wanted and who we needed to reach out to. What we ended up outlining as the persona of their ideal client, more often than not, is not the customer that they've been spending marketing dollars going after, because they just didn't know that wasn't, it's not something you think about as a CEO. It's not something you're like, my ideal customer is anyone that wants to buy my product, and that's just fine. You don't actually drill it down to the analytics. And so that would be my takeaway. If you take some time today and really reflect, who is your ideal client, and then are you meeting that? Are you meeting those clients?
And even if you think you know who your ideal client is, because I have some of my CEOs have been at this 10, 20 years, right? Sometimes 30 years. It might have changed.
Mm-hmm.
So relook at that. And I would say every year relook at that.
Mm-hmm.
What new clients did we bring on this year? What new customers came with us, chose us this year? Were they our ideal customer as we knew it?
Mm-hmm.
Or are they different? Do we have a new ideal customer profile that we need to look at? Because
Mm-hmm.
lots of marketing dollars can be wasted when we are not 100% clear on who
Mm-hmm.
our ideal customer is. And no, it's not anyone who wants to buy my product, right?
Someone actually told me that in their onboarding interview, and I was like, oh, honey, you've come to the right place. We're going to
Yeah,
get this
yeah.
sorted.
Like, I mean, I hope we're not still there. I hope that the CEOs out there really understand that they need to know who their ideal customer is, because it's so important. And keep
Mm-hmm.
in mind, as I just said, it can change. And sometimes you have a new product and that new product's going to have a different ideal customer profile. So we really have to pay attention to that. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, we gotta wrap up. I'm sorry. We're gonna talk again soon though. And we're gonna drop in, the show notes, the information about how people can reach you and see what you're doing, more about that, and follow you on social media as well. And your website's right there for everyone on the screen. So thank you, Gillian, so much for being with us today on Sales Talk for CEOs.
It was so much fun. Thank you. I definitely have enjoyed being around you these last 2 days.
Thank you. All right. Well, have a great rest of your day. Oh, it's Friday. So have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. If you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.